Hey everybody, and welcome to, bar none, the most important video I've ever made for my YouTube channel. The most requested tier list in tier list history. And really, an opportunity for me to pontificate about a 2019 cultural giant. The pinnacle of on-demand streaming content in 2019. I think you should leave. Featuring Tim Robinson. By Tim Robinson, with Tim Robinson. Timmy R, he's involved in all the sketches. So for those of you who are not aware, first off, this video is going to be impenetrable for you. It's 99.9% going to be references to a piece of content you've not seen. I really look at this show almost like Undertale. You know how like when Undertale came out, everybody was talking in Undertale references exclusively for like 6 months? That's the effect that this show has had. It is brain... it's like a virus for your brain, but like a good virus, you know, like generosity, not like, you know, influenza. So what we're going to do here, first off, the whole show is 6 15-minute episodes. So very quickly, you could go watch them and then come back and be like, I disagree. I think the Garfield House sketch is really good. I encourage you to do so. This is probably, and I say this without a hint of irony, this is probably the piece of culture from 2019 that resonates with me the most. I loved Parasite. I loved Midsommar. I loved Tetris 99. But I think You Should Leave for me is like, it just fit. It fit into the brain and it changed me on a fundamental level. Like the black goo from Prometheus changes the DNA of the organisms in which it comes in contact with. Anyway, let's get down to it. There's going to be hurt feelings. I'll just go ahead and say this. By the end of this video, my face might be beet red from all the embarrassment and the tough decisions. I'm a wreck right now. So they're in chronological order. By the way, thank you, Reckon Ree, for putting this together. I believe this is all the sketches. So we're going to rank every single sketch from This Is Garbage, Can It, all the way up to Best of the Best. So we're going to start with, and I got my own pet names, okay, for every single one of these sketches. If you know them via a different name, then so be it. That's the beauty. Every sketch is its own Rorschach. So let's start with It Does Both. I'm going to have to say that It Does Both is pretty funny. I think that beyond being a humorous sketch where a man going in for a job interview refuses to put his pride aside and recognize that the door does not indeed do both. Instead, it is exclusively a push. He chooses to pull it to the point where he undergoes incredible physical exertion and the hinges pop and so on and so forth. Beyond a humorous concept, this also is a really, really good leading sketch for the show because it distills the theme of I Think You Should Leave down to its simplest terms, like reducing a fraction. The vast majority of sketches in the show are essentially just like one person says something that is wrong, gets embarrassed, they take something too far, and then somebody says, hey, do you want to walk that back a little bit? And they say no, because if I walk it back a little bit, I lose, and they just continue spiraling out of control from there. So I think this is almost like the foreword or the prologue to a book. If you watch it, you see the themes that you're going to see in the future, and I think on its own, it stands alone, like a song by Godsmack. Disturbed? I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. Has this ever happened to you? You're not going to like this. This is a very popular sketch, but for me, this goes down into you have to figure out what it is you do territory. I think the sketch is fine. I mean, I love the show. I love almost every sketch that you're going to see here. And I've seen the show 6 or 7 times all the way through. I don't skip anything, mostly because even the longest sketch is only like 8 minutes long. I like parts of this. Replace your real toilet with a joke toilet just for farts. And now you can't even take a poop in your own home? You're not part of the turbo team? No running? Until you're part of the turbo team, walk. Slowly, you know? It's got some good lines. For me, little bit thin on the premise, goes a little bit too far, which I think is a hilarious criticism when you consider that that's basically what the show was all about. This one for me has never quite landed. But there's some moments. I like after his impassioned rant where he says, you know, has this ever happened to you? Getting increasingly angry and enthusiastic. He goes, call me. And then it kind of like calms down. And then it goes into the wham, 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 wham. You know what I'm talking about. Baby of the Year. It's a dynamite sketch. Baby of the Year for a while was perhaps my favorite sketch on the show. This is a tough decision for me. Do you put Baby in the Year in Best of the Best, or do you put Baby of the Year in Hilarious? For me personally, I think Baby of the Year is hilarious. I like pretty much everything about this sketch. The concept of a baby beauty pageant is essentially just real life distorted very, very slightly, which makes it innately more humorous. It's got a great song at the start of it. Look at their toes like so many curled canned shrimp. And then there's a few bits in here that elevate it. Bart Harley Jarvis and the indescribable and never touched upon reason for why adults hate this baby with such a violent fervor. The in memoriam section at the end. Tiny Dinky Daffy, pancaked by drunk dump truck driver. Little Taffy Doo Dinkins, throat slashed. It's a multi-layered bit. It is also where This Is Garbage Can It came from. So a lot of people, I think they might be a little upset with this one too. I think this is just slightly below this Best of the Best tier. But this is the thing about a show like this, everyone's going to get hit a little bit different. I really do like the sketch a lot. Instagram captions. Instagram captions is a lightning rod for criticism in my community. A lot of people think it's one of the worst sketches on the show. I'm surprised. I will say, the first time I watched the sketch, I thought it was great. Subsequent times, I've been like, I think it's only pretty good. But this really, it plays on another theme that comes up, and I think you should leave a lot, which is the innate humor of really, really gross and increasingly arbitrary and verbose words being put together. You know, slurping a pig with these fat hogs, you know. Bury me at the side of the road. No casket, just wet, wet mud. It's just sentences that, to the best of my knowledge, have never before been said in human history, put together in such a way as to be innately comical. Or did I just describe what a joke is in general in so many words? Anyway, I think the sketch is fine. But for me, it's kind of in the you have to figure out what it is you do territory. And then you come to a true piece of art. I don't know, what would you even call this one? Jacob's House? The one where you can see the KFC through the front window. There's a couple of sketches. It's really like Mud Pie. Then to eat the receipt. I don't know what you want to call this one. It's this and Honk If You're Horny that are both shot in such like a cinematic style. Like they actually got like, you know, Roger Deakins to do the cinematography for these. They're framed not like a Saturday Night Live sketch typically is like, hey, I'm the guy who's got like a nose that's also a vacuum, and then he just goes around sucking stuff up, right? This one is more like, you know, it's crazy. It's got a start, it's got beats, it's got a climax and a denouement, it's got a coda, it's got everything you could ever ask for. Now, it is a little bit on the absurd side, which I think sends some people, to be honest. You know, it is about Jacob, as played by Hollywood actor Stephen Yeun, taking a big mud pie, using too small a slice, and now Lev's stomach is absolutely fricked. But I like this sketch a lot. I'm going to put it in the best of the best. I think this is an enduring sketch from the show. So many great quotes. You should know. Your wife kissed me in the cheek on my way in here. Now look at you. Nobody likes your house, Jacob. It's a great sketch. I want to resist just doing quotes of it over and over, but I use the quotes to reinforce my initial thesis, which is that this is a sketch that doesn't make you belly laugh necessarily the first time you watch it. Instead, it's like a once upon a time in Hollywood sort of cultural experience, where after you finish watching it, you're like, I'm not really sure what that was all about. Then a week later, you find yourself still puzzling it out. What does Lev mean when he says the guy at the store said he has the same wreath and it works great for him? What is it that a wreath really does? It raises a lot of questions. It worms its way into your brain the way the best pieces of media do. And for that, it gets best of the best. Yeah, guys, there's motorcycles. And there's a lot of other stuff, too. I'm going to go ahead and... this is another one. People dislike it for its simplicity. For me, I think this is a pretty funny sketch. It's one of the few sketches in the show that's like 45 seconds long, and it just has one joke that I just railed on Saturday Night Live for doing, and it doesn't really do much with it, but it gets it out there like a little amuse-bouche course. You know what I mean? It's just a guy, he's never seen a car before. Instead of looking at the world through the lens of a normal human being, he looks through the world through the lens of somebody who conceptualizes everything as a different type of motorcycle. Whoa! 2 motorcycles with a little house in the middle? Okay. And of course, at the end of the sketch, the reason for his naive lens through which he views the world, of course, has been revealed, but I won't spoil that for you because it's a gaspable moment for sure. TC Tuggers, aka River Mountain High. It's a very strange sketch. I actually think it's an academic sketch. It's an exercise in academia. The sketch itself is only okay. What makes it work and elevates it to a level of artfulness is the principles. He's like pulled from another time, you know? The show that they lampoon in this sketch is basically Riverdale, but then there's the weird sponsored content TC Tuggers shirt, which is very clearly just a normal shirt with the cap from a water bottle sewn into the front of it. It's very bizarre. The principle carries this sketch to a large degree. I love the concept of a shirt with a tugging knob, and in fact, it's the only shirt with a tugging knob. That way you don't wear it out when it gets stuck on your belly. But I haven't figured out how I feel about this one. I haven't figured out what it is I do. But I have many enduring quotes. It's not a joke. You don't wear it ironically or to pub crawls like the Snuggie. For me, I think the TC Tugger shirt itself is an enduring symbol from I Think You Should Leave, much like an Olympic mascot. However, the actual meat of the sketch keeps it in. You have to figure out what it is you do. I'm going to tell you, I forget the name. Hold on, can I zoom in on this? I know the sketch. The sketch is, hey, you've been wearing a toupee for years, but you're actually bald, and now baldness is cool. So we've got these solutions. We'll send you 365 toupees that each have a little bit of more thinning hair, and then eventually you can go bald naturally without anybody asking you any questions. Or you can pay a guy in a gorilla suit to come over and rip your hair off all at once to get that Band-Aid off. But for me, this is probably my least favorite sketch in the whole show, to be honest with you. Not because I'm bald. I'm not salty. Is that the joke? Shouldn't talk about that as the next sketch. But it's kind of one note. The only part I actually like a lot about this sketch is at the end when like one dude has already done the baldness thing, and then the gorilla comes in and takes the other guy's hair, and he goes, "Oh no, my natural hair!" I like that, but it's a weak sketch in my opinion. There's a pink bag on my chair. For me, goes straight up into best of the best territory without a doubt. So many great quotes, carried exclusively by an acerbic, almost Dostoevsky-esque portrayal of this character by Tim Robinson, spewing bile from his mouth at the audacity of his coworkers for having insulted him. He lets loose with all of the resentment and anger that he's been holding back, as if he's the main character from Notes from Underground. There's a lot to like about this. The way he says there's some sort of pink bag on my chair. They make him do the whoopee cushion. He says, "Excuse me, I have to leave. I have to figure out what's going on." You can tell there's genuine hurt in his voice, followed by just an absolutely singular rant. Is that the joke? What's next? Some of the things I can't say, I'll get demonetized on YouTube. Drop a meatball down my pant leg, make it look like my ball sack ripped open. Is that the joke? Is that the joke that I farted and nobody threw up? Because that'd be a pretty good day for me. I think we established what would happen if I farted, Jane. You throw up your pretty little lunch. Permission to go home and watch TV on the couch so my face isn't beet red from my family photo tonight. Absolutely fantastic sketch. And carried singularly in a Joaquin Phoenix-esque way by Tim Robinson's portrayal of the character who has been scorned. Now, I love Will Forte. I have to be honest. Ben Franklin cries on an airplane. Not one of my favorite sketches. Filmed cinematically, I'll admit. The part about this sketch, that for the first time you see it, as it gradually becomes unveiled, you're like, oh, this is interesting. You know, we've all been in a situation we wanted to like rest on an airplane, but there was a crying baby. But this nut job took it to the next level, and, you know, he's exacting his revenge. The only part that has stuck with me with this sketch, moving on, you know, after watching it too many times, is when Will Forte has to change seats, and the dude that he's changing with blocks his way in the aisle, and he goes, yeah, that's a good idea. Move in the way that I have to go. And I'm like, dude, that happens to me all the time. Has this ever happened to you? Apart from that, I think it's one time I'm having a good time watching this sketch. In the future, not as rewatchable, and that kills it a little bit. So we're moving on. This is, now we're on episode 3. I recognize the irony that this analysis will be almost as long as the runtime of the show itself. This is embarrassed by local magician. I'm going to be honest. That's a pretty funny sketch in my head. You know, the gist of this sketch, you probably don't need me to jog your memory, but maybe you do. You know, a husband and wife are having date night. They're at a magician/comedy show. The comedian asks for volunteers. Tim Robinson goes up, and, he makes him look like a fool in the way that stage magicians do. Hey, pick a hand. That's the wrong hand. He makes fun of his suit, etc., etc. Gist of the sketch, his wife has lost all respect and attraction for her husband because he's been embarrassed by this schmuck on stage. You make 10 times what he makes. He embarrassed you. We'll stay together for the kids, but I won't respect you, and I'll make sure they don't either. Followed by, there's something about like the show, the more I watch it, and I should probably stop, to be honest, because it's getting, you're watching this, you're like, this is ridiculous. What is this guy talking about? It's only going to get worse. The nugget in this show that always sticks to me is that level of like masculine pride where you're like, I've been embarrassed and now it's time to get my revenge. You know, it's that impotent rage. And this sketch encapsulates that very well when Tim Robinson tries to exact his revenge on the stage magician and says, I make 10 times what you make. And then the magician says, well, you wouldn't know it from the suit. And he just has no response. You ruined my life. It's a solid sketch. Now, we come to what is perhaps the most iconic sketch from I Think You Should Leave. Paul's car ideas. This is a tough one for me. I think, to be honest, this is a pretty funny tier for me. Can I tell you the reason it's not higher? Even though I love quotes like, oh my God, he admitted it. You have no good car ideas, Paul. Stuff like that. It's carried exclusively by this old man and his funny voice and his accent. And that's a little less cerebral than some of the sketches that you see here. And because I consider myself something of an academic, I find myself debased when I laugh at this sketch. I go, ha ha, but then ooh, because I'm a little embarrassed at myself. But it is good. I do like it. Again, it leans heavily on the absurdity, and it's very quotable. A steering wheel that doesn't fly off while I'm driving. Too small. So if the steering wheel fly off, I'm toast. Is pretty good. You have some good car ideas, Paul. Laser spine specialist, which to be honest with you, is not well known by its original, and this is, I'm just putting it here as a baseline, is not well known by its original concept, but is instead more well known as Moon River Rock. The way this starts is like a medical ad that's like, thanks to laser spine specialists, I can play with my kids again. And then Tim Robinson, thanks to laser spine specialists, I can pick up my fully grown son. I can fight my wife's new boyfriend. Then he goes, I can get my money back from that guy that tried to convince me I was a star. And then it's, Moon River Rock, Moon River Roll. I think that I like this sketch a lot. just because of the... It's like, when they get into the studio, it's like a Safdie Brothers film. It's uncut gems. Your family doesn't love you. Nobody loves you. Only I love you. This is... It's got a frantic energy and pace that honestly I respect. Now, I'm sorry, Fred Willard. New organist. It's not a waste of time, but it's one of my least favorite sketches for sure. It's just you get it early, you know. The organist is out. They got a new guy, and he's doing that thing. I forget the guy's name, but he ran that show in California that was always like, hey, check out these idiosyncratic people, and then they would have like one of those organs that had like 10 things you could pull. So he was like dunka 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 ooga, you know, and he's smashing plates. I get it, but I don't like it that much. But at the end, when the corpse in the coffin smiles, it redeems it somewhat. Now I gotta tell you, the Colgate Comedy Hour is a great sketch. I think I got to throw this up here in Best of the Best. I love a lot about this sketch. You might think, first off, Tim Heidecker does a great job in this sketch, playing a smarmy, a little bit too old boyfriend to the, allow me to say, his naive girlfriend who thinks he's cool because he's mature, but he's not actually mature. He's just kind of a jerk. A lot of the meat and potatoes of this is, this Guess the Celebrity game. Roy Donk. You know, he can hit the high C all night long, or when, you know, the one girl's doing charades and he's like, oh, I wish I could hear what she's playing, man. She's off the map. But for me, this is all about Arizona walnuts gazpacho soup. Hey, when he pulls out the bag, where be your nutcracker? And then the lady goes, oh, I think we have one upstairs with our Christmas stuff. And he goes, oh, cool, so that won't take you long to get. It's great. And then, second thought, I don't want the Arizona walnuts. I saw you had some gazpacho soup in your fridge. Could I have some gazpacho soup? And then when he eats it, let me explain something to you. When you expect the soup to be cold and it's room temperature, it's going to feel like your mouth is on fire. You might say, do I have a notepad of these quotes up? No, I don't. This is the notepad right here. It's locked up. There's no escape, okay? It's locked in the puzzle box in my brain. So for me, I really like this. There's so many good quotes. You don't remember his name? It was the night I told you you'll never be a good writer because you don't have a curious mind? Anyway, you bought me that Fitbit. You said it was going to I said it was going to give me wrist cancer, and you said it's the cigars you smoke that are going to give you cancer. It's the T-bone steaks you eat that are going to give you cancer. Okay. We're on to episode 3. Or 4, sorry. I think we're on episode 4 now. Scrooge. I think you have to figure out what you do is where I want this one. Most people, I think, would put this in garbage, but I really like, it's a bone larva. Smash him with your cane, Scrooge. Now eat that goop before he comes back to life. Skeletrax is freaking huge. He's got a fleet of bone cars, etc. I like it, okay? I think that a lot of people don't really like this one either, but I like Herbie Hancock being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I think it's a great sketch. I honestly do. Can I tell you, there's 2 great quotes in this. First off, the way there's many things I like about this. I love that it opens with, I think, maybe the greatest opening line in I Think You Should Leave, which is, before we get started, I just want to say that I don't think the dog that bit me should get put down. I mean, it's a service dog. It's wearing one of those vests. It must be a service dog. Otherwise, why would it even be here? I just wanted to say that I don't think the dog should be put down. That's it raises so many questions and sets up the mystery for where the episode is going to go from that point onward. The other thing that carries this for me in a big way is, and it's, at a pretty basal level, cerebrally speaking, but Tim Robinson's fall when he goes up the stairs is absolutely incredible. You think it's just a little trip, but he eats it like a WWE wrestler. And for that, it gets elevated beyond its original execution for me. The fully loaded nachos they need to make a new tier. Fully loaded nachos is it's close, It's real close, but it might be my favorite sketch in the whole thing. But it's real close, dude. The idea of him going to the host and saying, can you tell me? Like, he's not enough of a man to tell his date, like, hey, can you leave me some of those fully loaded nachos? I'm getting mostly like just chips. The fact that he talks to the person in a position of power is just, when you look at it, it's just hilarious. I get that I'm explaining the joke, but at the same time, I'm like, it says so much about the impotent rage that the guy has in the first place. He's like, I'm being wronged, but I can't do anything about it. I got to talk to the teacher. It's like, it's big third grader energy. I love it. And then his constant denial and the wounded puppy dog routine he puts on, I went over to ask about the rule. You just found out about the rule. What? We're going to be so early for that movie. The one thing I will say, I don't respect that they both want the artists they see in concert, they want them to just play the classics. They don't care about the new stuff. It's very disrespectful to the integrity of the artists, even though I understand you bought the ticket. So, just a little moment of disagreement. Honk If You're Horny, filmed in Panavision. It's an incredible sketch. A lot of people hate this sketch. I think it's genius. The main reason I think it's genius is, first off, the fact that it's filmed letterbox is just innately funny, and I don't know if anybody else thinks the same way that I do. The fact that the black bars come down for this sketch, and it's just like, it's color treated in a different way to make it look like a hazy Los Angeles kind of, movie. I think that's innately funny. And then on top of that, the panicked sort of paranoia caused by this guy honking all the time, into Tim Robinson singing that song, Friday night, I'm thinking that we just might. And the thing that's so good about it is that the song is not funny because of the words in the song. The song is funny because it's like similar to something like a Taylor Swift song, but is not. But it's not played for laughs at all, which makes it innately hilarious. Not in an anti-comedy sort of way, just in a way that's like, you're like, what is this doing here? It's a non sequitur without being holds up spork so random. Great lines in the song, too, though. Jeans iron slipping up, pressed jeans button up, studded belt pulled taut, 3 stacks on the radio. It's top tier. Also, in the close to top tier, we're getting into some really strong stuff. I think the show gets a lot better as it goes along, to be honest. Hot Dog Car. Extremely great sketch. Simplest premise. A man in a hot dog costume quite clearly crashes a car shaped like a hot dog into some kind of suit MLM situation, refuses to acknowledge it. Through the strength of his conviction, starts to win a couple of people over. Many enduring quotes. Wrong. We got to find out who did this and give him a spanking. Maybe you could do it, sir. No. Okay, then you. Anyway. Donald may be dressed like a hot dog, but you're wearing an actual hot dog suit. And then his, the rant he goes on to try to distract them fully. Instead of sending people a real smile, we send an emoji. It's very good. Just ask yourself, if I was an old man with a big burly beard, would you be speaking to me like this? Or would you be spanking my bare butt, balls, and back? Very good sketch, in my opinion. Caleb Went. Oh my God, is that Caleb Went? Poppers. Hilarious. Just slightly not in the top tier for me, but very good. Again, this whole episode is just about a refusal to admit that something obvious is indeed what's happening. And I love that. Man gets starstruck. We've all been in this situation. You're having dinner with somebody, maybe you want to impress them. Something embarrassing happens. You're eating a piece of meat. Maybe it's too much gristle. You got to spit it out. You can't swallow it. You got to spit it out on a napkin or something, but they take it to the extreme. He starts choking. But he continues to try to act as if nothing's going on because he would rather die than embarrass himself in front of somebody he respects. The nugget of the sketch is so good. And then many great quotes, like when his friend is like, "You're dying," and he's like he's gonna punch him, but he's not actually gonna punch him. Very good. I don't want to do the voice because it'll ruin my recording for the rest of the day, and plus I can't do it to begin with. Very good sketch in my opinion. Is that Caleb Went? You know his clothing line, Angels and Archways? I'm wearing one of their belts right now. Santa brought it early. Gotta be honest, for me, Santa brought it early is you have to figure out what it is you do sketch. And I think the lead actress, whose name escapes me, does a fantastic job. There's things I like about this sketch, but it's just a little not there for me. I get it, obviously. And there's some lines I really like in this because I feel like this on the NLSS sometimes. You know, I make dozens of, or what is it? Sandra makes one joke and you all crap yourselves laughing. Meanwhile, I make dozens of on par or even better jokes and you all ice me? Does this mean we're not going to get anything? It's an okay sketch, but it's not for me. You know what is a 10 out of 10 sketch? The day Robert Palin shot me down, / also the night that the skeletons came to life. I think that the first time I saw it, I was like, this is a great sketch. Of those, it has diminished amongst the least on subsequent viewings, without a doubt. I got to give this a top tier. There's a lot to pull out of this one. Your Name's Billy too. The bones are their money, so are the worms. In their world, bones equal dollars. All they want's another chance at life. They've never seen so much food as this. Underground, there's half as much food as this. What does it mean? They pull your hair up but not out. That's how they get the bones. It's world building, you know. It's show don't tell. It raises so many questions in your brain about the way that this skeleton economy works. And then on the other hand, you got the whole actual song of the day Robert Palin shot me down. The church bells they were ringing. The sun was low and clouds. I don't remember. Anyway, that's not the good part. The good part is the skeletons. Another great sketch. Babysitter idea. Your babysitter idea got me into huge trouble. You'll notice there's kind of like a recurring theme like in the show, but especially like the ones that I like the most. If you accept that one or make that an exception, and this one, I guess, they're really all about one person just taking it way too far and refusing to ever back down because their own pride is more important than, admitting they were wrong. So in this one, you're late for a party, not a big deal. Make up an excuse that the babysitter was late. Yeah, the babysitter totally screwed us. Oh, was something wrong? No, it was just like a hit and run. But the police said the people she hit weren't even like real people. They said, don't worry about it at all. I think it's a good sketch. Why is it not higher up then? Honestly, I think the monologue about the babysitter and slightly being pushed on his lie, forcing him to double, triple, quintuple, etc., down, very strong. Some of the jokes, the lions, like the animal from the circus, they were playing a game. I don't get it. That's like, I get where you're going. Maybe not 100% for me, but average endowed horses, you got to figure out what it is you do. I think the sketch is okay. But for me, it's a one-note joke, right? The only part that is endured for me in this sketch is, the horse throwing itself off of a cliff is okay. And then also, when the wife says, is that what they mean when they say hung like a horse? Yours is bigger than that. And then the guy goes, is it? Really? Bigger than a horse's. I like the sound of that. Other than that, juvenile. Still, I chuckle now and then. Chunky. He's gobbling your points. This is another one, much like you have no good car ideas poll. I love the quotability of this sketch. The sketch quality itself, I put it around the mid-tier. And I can't come up with a logical reason. I like watching this sketch when it comes up again, but for me, it's never... If you were like, make a top, 10 sketches from the show, this one would not have made it for me. But it would still be in around the middle half. Andy Samberg does a fine job playing the straight man, essentially. The way the show spirals out of control, the way Chunky tries to cover up for his mistakes, but constantly is making another mistake while covering up for his mistake. Don't talk! The mouth on the thing doesn't move. Don't swear. What kind of game show have you ever seen that has swearing? Anyway, that's a mid-tier sketch for me. But mid-tier on I Think You Should Leave is like God tier on any other sketch comedy show that's come out in like the past 5 years at least. Reggie's viral video, aka Bozo dubbed over. For me, this might be the sketch where I differ the most, I think, from the I Think You Should Leave Intelligista. I think that this is amongst the best sketches in the show, without a doubt. I love the premise. I love the premise of a guy who can't think of a viral video to show his friends. Like, he thinks that that's going to get him some social clout, is to have, like, a viral video that he can recommend to people, but he just can't find one. So instead, he makes one. And even though it's so clear that he made it himself, he refuses to acknowledge it. It's clear. It only has one view, and he's seen it. How can he deny that he's the creator? Especially because it sounds just like him. And then the Bozo video itself is so ridiculously bad that it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's like it's a pure cringe video, which makes it absolutely perfect. I'm not supposed to be here. A clown pewter? Probably got no games. What's this, like a little circle or something? Oh, this guy, I thought he was bald. This guy's about to, Anyway, it's a quality sketch in my opinion. One of the highest quality sketches. I love the tear that rolls down his cheek when he finally resists the cross-examination as to why he doesn't have a viral video. A lot of good details. Now, I'll tell you, Stanzo brand fedoras, I'm 50-50 on. I think this sketch is fine. 50 black slick back hair wigs. 200 plastic meatballs. They don't look like pieces of crap or nothing. It's good, and I love Tim Robinson's hair in this sketch. I know it's a strange thing to say, but it's the honest to goodness truth. And then on top of that, I like some things about it, Who took my cigars? But it's not really for me on the upper echelon. And I'll tell you, I just don't like Garfield House. I get it. Look at the house. It's all Garfield. You pull on the tongue, the couch reclines. That's the guy who tried to kill Jim Davis. Party house, hot dip or something, etc., etc. But I think, it's one of my 4 least favorites. I put it down there. Now, if I had to reconfigure the list, would I change anything? I don't think I would. I'm very happy with the list. If you haven't seen it, go watch I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. Let me know if you agree. Inevitably, for some people, you're going to be like, you put New Organist at the bottom, that's the best sketch. Or they're going to be like, you put Eating the Receipt at the top? It's stupid. I want to see those comments. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you got any friends who are I Think You Should Leave acolytes, share them this video. We're a very insular culture. We follow each other on Twitter. We make memes about the show. It's taken off. This is going to be a cultural revolution. Everybody's going to be quoting this. Everyone's going to be saying Bozo did the dub in 2020. For now, if you enjoyed the episode, subscribe. It was a fun video to make. Click the like button if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. See ya!